your attention, please, everyone. Welcome on board this Caledonian midbrain vessel. Your safety is our highest priority, and therefore we ask you to please listen carefully to the following safety information. We operate a fleet of well-equipped vessels on all our routes throughout the west coast of Scotland. In the unlikely event of an emergency, you will be informed by means of an emergency signal, consisting of 7 or more short blasts.
There's something special about any adventure that starts on a boat or a ferry trip, and that's one of the things that makes Scotland so special. You know that I like the west coast, but going to the islands up the west coast is just fantastic. And on this trip we were headed across the sea to an island I hadn't been on for quite some time. Setting foot back on the island brought back memories of our last trip out here, where we'd had a fantastic day in the mountains. We were, of course, on the fantastic Isle of Arran, which many people talk about as being like a Scotland in miniature, but I tell you what, it's got some fantastic walks. Anyway, before the adventure started, we had a few local beverages the night before, as we hadn't seen each other for quite some time. In fact, it's probably been about 5 years since I'd been out with Kev, who was putting us up for a few days. Anyway, quite a few Arran blondes were had, and the following morning, the first thing that was required was quite a lot of caffeine. Some sore heads were had.
Yeah, absolutely. Willie Miller there, thank you very much for joining us. Open All Mics is on radio.
After enjoying the coffee, we set off on our hill walk for the day, but we still had something to do en route there. My brother Ross, who you may know from some of the videos, he couldn't make it out the night before, so we had to stop by the ferry terminal and make sure that we got him safe and sound for the adventure.
You're on camera.
On camera, I'm famous. I made it.
Ta-da.
Chuck it in the back. Chuck it in the back.
Having collected Ross and now having a full complement, we headed for a route that, well, I'd never been up this mountain, but it was a route that the other two hadn't been up either, and given the weather forecast, which wasn't great, it was to be windy and a bit wet, we decided on this route up because we hoped that it might give us a little bit of shelter. Some of the other routes up this mountain, which is called Goatfell, would see us onto the ridges, and this one sort of kept us down in the corrie, out of the wind, hopefully, or that was the plan. Anyway, we arrived at the start point, got our stuff ready, and set about making our way up the hill.
So this is sort of the valley before.
What do you call it? Hanging valley type thing. So we go steep and then it plateaus out and then water.
Anyone who has walked in Scotland will know that the weather can be changeable, and only took about, 3 minutes before we felt the first pitter-patters of rain, so we stopped and got our jackets on before setting about walking upwards again. But again, as anyone who walks in Scotland will know, as soon as you stop to put waterproofs on, the rain goes off and the sun comes out, doesn't it? And that's exactly what happened here. No sooner had we got the jackets on, that the clouds parted and the blue skies came out. The wee burns were certainly full of water, and that looks beautiful, lovely waterfalls, but we had to cross that on the way back had we kept to the route that we'd planned, so I was a wee bit concerned about that. Anyway, up into the corrie we went, and we could see that the lower level of the cloud was hanging low down, obscuring the view of Goatfell and the route ahead. With the weather gods not promising settled conditions ahead, we took the decision to find some boulders to sit and get our layers on, and also have a bite to eat before heading into the clag. And it can be nice to find a boulder. This was a good glen for finding boulders close together, so we could all sit with dry bums and enjoy our food with the views that were soon to disappear. With the clouds scudding by, we finally left our boulders, our wee perches, and decided it was time to head on. It was still quite breezy down here, but we knew that higher up the winds would pick up and it would get windier. So up we went, into the mist, leaving the colourful heather behind to find ourselves in a world of monochrome. Up on the ridge and in the mist we headed on and followed the path. The windy conditions meant we didn't go up and over most of the scrambles, although there was a few bits and bobs where we got our hands on the rock, but for the most part we were in the clouds, not sure of how far down the drops went to our left and right. Not far now, 50 metres up there. Kev reckons we're going to get an inversion.
Hold that out, alright.
Well, the optimistic thoughts of popping out above the clouds, well, I don't think that was ever going to happen, but we soon reached more level ground, and before long the trig point and summit of Goatfell came into view. Customary handshake, and we look at the viewfinder to look at all those views that we could just imagine seeing on a good day. I'm sure it is a good viewpoint on a good day. Just not today. That's us at the summit. There's Kevin. He says the cloud inversion's a bit higher than we are at the moment. Time to head back now. So leaving the summit, we decided to head down, make it a circular route and head down the ridge. And I think our route choice in the way was vindicated when we realised, or soon became aware of, the wind that was gusting across this ridge. And we also encountered our first rain of the day here. It soon blew through, and before long we dropped far enough down to start getting those fantastic sea views. One of the reasons the Scottish Islands are fantastic. There's nothing quite beats mountains and sea and the point where they meet. It really is a fantastic place to loiter. It was almost like a different day, down low, out of the cloud and away from the wind. The sun was shining, and yeah, you could almost say it felt like summer. It was a really enjoyable walk back to the car. And we got to the car, got our stuff settled out, and then drove back. We had a lot of catching up to do. We hadn't seen each other for years, so a lovely little meal, or should I say big meal, at the Drift Inn in Lamlash was ordered and enjoyed. What a fantastic way to end the day. I think we'd earned those pints and that meal. I'll tell you what, I can highly recommend it. Anyway, the next morning saw more caffeine before we headed back along to Brodick to catch the ferry back. What a fantastic adventure. Thanks for watching, as always, stay safe out there, and I'll see you on the next adventure.